Welcome back. We are live in West Palm Beach, Florida, tracking the Trump transition. And tonight, the president-elect has chosen Matthew Whitaker to serve as his U.S. ambassador to NATO. You may remember Matt Whitaker from Trump's first term in office, where he served for about 3 months as the acting attorney general. That was after Trump had fired his first attorney general, Matt Whitaker's boss at the time, Jeff Sessions. Now, Whitaker is not bringing foreign policy experience when he is going to Brussels in this role, but he's instead known inside Trump world for his loyalty to the president-elect.
Stacked against the president. All of these judges and all these prosecutors should dismiss these cases, give President Trump a clean slate. Nobody knows the weaponization of the Department of Justice and the legal system more than Donald Trump. He has been the target of these ridiculous, novel legal theories.
Because of comments like those, some people had thought he would be getting a job at the DOJ. Now we've seen with this, Whitaker has backed up Trump's demand that NATO allies spend more on their defense. He could now be working with an alliance that Trump has threatened to withdraw from at worst and been skeptical of at best.
One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want.
My next source tonight is the former U.S. ambassador to NATO himself, Ivo Dalder. And it's great to have you here, Ambassador, because you're someone who held this job for 4 years during the Obama administration. Obviously, Obama and Trump have very different foreign policy views. But on this role and knowing what it needs, what does Trump's selection of Matt Whitaker say to you?
Well, I mean, on one hand, it's good news because having an ambassador in NATO means that at least Donald Trump is not planning to withdraw from NATO immediately. After all, why send an ambassador to an organization you're no longer going to be a part of? But on the other hand, it says something about how he thinks about appointments. Apparently, expertise is no longer a requirement for the job that you're supposed to be filling. Loyalty is. I think Matt Whitaker is probably going to be the first U.S. ambassador to NATO in the long range since 1949, since we had our first U.S. ambassador who has absolutely no experience in foreign or defense policy. And the U.S. ambassador to NATO is unique. It reports not only to the Secretary of State, but also to the Secretary of Defense. It's an important job for an important organization, and it says a lot that the president decided to put loyalty above expertise, in this case, as he has in his other appointments.
Well, on your first point, I will say, I mean, yes, he is appointing someone as the ambassador to NATO, but he did also appoint an education secretary, even though he has vowed to abolish that department. But on what Matt Whitaker's job is going to be here, if he's confirmed by the Senate, how do you think Brussels is looking at something like this? Because, you know, I was there at the summits before where Trump put a lot of pressure on the allies to increase defense spending. He has actually touted that you have seen some of them increase their defense spending over the last few years. But what does that task look like for Matt Whitaker in this role?
Well, of course, you're going to find a NATO that is deeply worried about where the United States is going. This is a very different NATO and a very different time than when Donald Trump was last president. This is now a NATO that is actually in a continent that is at war. It is at war with Russia. Russia is fighting a land war in Ukraine and a hybrid war against much of Europe and indeed against the United States. It is assassinating people. It is blowing up weapons depots. It is being suspected of cutting lines of communication between underneath the seas. It is trying to poison the water supply at military bases. It's putting explosives on our airplanes that are meant to go to the United States. That is the kind of thing that Russia is doing each and every day. And NATO exists to provide security for all of its members. And instead, I think what you're going to find is that Ambassador Whitaker, if he is indeed confirmed, will be spending all this time talking about the allies needing to do more on defense spending and calling into question America's commitment to their defense. Now, the allies do need to do more. It's something that everyone agrees to it. My sense is in Europe, they're going to say we'll do more no matter what happens, because it's not clear we can rely on the United States any longer in the way we have over the last 75 years.
Yeah, you just mentioned that he has to be Senate confirmed for this role. If you were a senator there, Republican or Democrat, what would you ask him?
Well, I would ask some deep knowledge questions about NATO. I wanted to know whether the ambassador to an organization of which the United States is a founding member actually understands how the organization works, what it is there for, what it does, in order to bring some deep knowledge to the question. That first. Second, I would really want to be interested to know what he would know about our allies. These are countries we work with him day in and day out. Whether he understands how it is important to build coalitions that the United States has looked at as a leader in this organization to bring together parties who don't always agree in order to move forward. This is an organization that is based on consensus. You can't move forward unless everyone agrees. How is he going to do that? How is he going to bring everybody together? Is it all with threats, or is it also going to be with some diplomacy and some skill? Those are the kinds of questions I'd be asking him.
We'll see what he gets asked. Ambassador Ivo Dalter, it's great to have your expertise on the show tonight. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Speaking of Ukraine, they are now accusing Russia of carrying out psychological warfare, so serious that the U.S. closed its embassy in Kyiv, something it has not done in years. A new provocative essay by an exiled Russian journalist. He is going to weigh in next.